everybody, this is the Wikstrand. So for the past 6 or 7 years, Bruce Willis has released an endless conveyor belt of catastrophic cinematic dumpster fires. And I've been sitting there watching them thinking, what the fuck is this? They have been awful, atrocious, and worst of all, Bruce Willis have been so bland and so forgettable, and it seems like he was just phoning it in. I was thinking, what the fuck is going on here? And it turned out, I think it was late 2022, when they were telling us that, you know, he has been struggling with mental illness, and he, you know, approaches dementia and stuff like that, and he has memory loss, and he can't remember his lines and stuff like that. And I was thinking, what the fuck? So he has been doing all of these movies despite him being too ill really to do them. Well, you took those paychecks, Mr. Willis, so you don't escape my criticisms. I will still say that despite Bruce Willis' horrible performance in this movie, this just might be one of the best or least horrible he has done for the past 7 years maybe. It's not a lot, but it is a little. So let's find out what the deal is and what is so American about this siege. This movie is called American Siege. Who has been released from prison. He's met up with, you know, I think it is his stepsister, along with, you know, her boyfriend, and they are going to find out what happened to her sister, because, you know, she, you know, was killed 10 years ago, and he wants to find out what happened. So they go to this guy, Dr. Keys, and you know, tells him that you're gonna tell us what happened to her because you were the last man who, you know, saw her. Tell us or we will kill you. Dr. Keys says that he's completely innocent, he had nothing to do with it, and he also tries to get them to not go into his, you know, panic room, which he was trying to get into when they were, you know, busting into his place. They are also trying to figure out what is behind that steel door. What kind of secrets does Dr. Keys harbor in there? At the same time, across town, we have this, you know, local leader of some description that is totally, you know, controlling the police, and especially a drunk, useless police officer played by Bruce Willis. They get to hear that there is, you know, a hostage situation at Dr. Keys, and this guy says to Bruce Willis that you're gonna have to go there and you're gonna figure out what's going on, and you're gonna, you know, make sure that this situation doesn't escalate, because if they find out what is in Dr. Keys' house, we're going to be in a lot of trouble, because the FBI is coming and they will be here in 55 minutes. That is 55 real minutes. That is one of the benefits of this movie, that the 55 real minutes gave this movie a set of urgency that I really liked. So Bruce Willis goes there and tries to negotiate with them, but it doesn't go very well. And especially when, you know, this kind of sort of white supremacy militia led by our favorite strong local guy, you know, comes here and, you know, takes over and try to, you know, get around and kill these guys and free Dr. Keys. The thing really escalates. What's in Dr. Keys' house? Are they going to be able to find out what happened to, you know, her sister? Why is Bruce Willis in this movie? Because if you exclude the things he did in practically the last minute of the movie, nothing that he did, not a single sequence meant anything. If you would have cut away everything he did except the last minute, his character meant diddly squat in this movie. So yeah, he isn't really, you know, the focus point of this movie. The focus point is the people on the inside trying to find out what is going on, and, you know, the people on the outside trying to stop them. What does this have to do with, you know, the sister and who is guilty and blah blah blah. Oh, by the way, it should also be mentioned that Bruce Willis was the cop 10 years ago, before he got drunk and shit, was the cop that was investigating the murder of her. So that is an aspect of this movie I also kind of liked. One thing this movie did really good was the fact that we have shades of grey, because no one in this movie is a villain and no one in this movie is a hero through and through. There are shades of grey. I like that. And I also like the fact that they were taking twists and turns in this movie that I didn't see coming, and you didn't quite know who was, you know, the villain in this story, even though you kind of could guess after a while who is probably responsible for some kind of nefarious things that has been going on. But I still found this movie to be quite decent. But what if this movie would have been made like in 2002 with a still, you know, good Bruce Willis alongside a bunch of very good actors, directed by somebody who knew what they were doing and a big budget? It would have been a fantastic movie. Now we have this pretty lackluster movie with horrible performances, bad production value, and a Bruce Willis that barely can, you know, understand what happens around him. Now I will say that despite the low budget, they were still able to make the action sequences look pretty okay. Not good, but pretty okay. And considering how low my expectations were for this movie, it was far and beyond what I thought they were going to accomplish. Now, they took the easy way out when it came to the story, and I thought that was a little bit cheap, and I also thought that somebody who has written this movie have no idea how, you know, FBI works or how, you know, criminal forensic things works and stuff like that, because a bunch of people who we are led to believe is going to have one sort of ending to them is not going to have that ending. I thought to myself, that annoyed me a little bit, not too much, but a little. Should you see this movie? Absolutely not. But if you would compare this to every movie that I've seen with Bruce Willis for the last 7 years, I think, this is probably the best movie that he has done since. And that's a big shame, because this movie is really not that good. But comparing this to the endless amount of bullshit he has been putting out these past few years, this movie is fucking die hard compared to those ones. Still not a good movie, but it was better than it had any right to be. I like the fact that we have at least 3 opposing forces in this movie competing for our attention and competing for supremacy in, you know, the fight of this little cottage. The, you know, police, the militia, and the guys on the inside. I like that aspect. I don't know if it is generous of me to give this C action thriller a 25 rating, but I was kind of into this movie, and I was kind of into the characters, more so than I expected when I started watching this movie. Again, it's not a very good movie, and it has a lot of problems with itself, and there's a lot of flaws, but it was still better than, you know, most other things that Bruce Willis have done, you know, over the past years or so. So I'll see you next time from, well, so-and-so reviewing, well, such and such. Thank you for watching. Thank you very much.